Hi everybody, sorry I got locked out of my own Insta Live and as I was saying, we're doing something a little bit fun today. There is something off the beaten track a little bit. We're going to be talking to a whole bunch of chefs, or maybe a whole bunch of chefs are going to be talking to us and telling us about their favorite movies, the movies that they liked, that they've watched, that they've enjoyed. Just hang on a sec. I think Anis is having a bit of a problem there. Okay. So I think Anis doesn't know how to join the Insta. I'm just waiting for him. Just hang on a second. Okay, now let me see if that has worked. I mean, everyone else is here, so we're just waiting for Anis to join in. And I hope everyone's watched a lot of food films and would have some suggestions. I'm sure the chefs would like to know of other great films that they could watch that you would recommend for them. Hey Moina, good to see you here. Viraf and Pallavi are also here. So as I was saying, feel free to make any suggestions based on what they have to say and what suggestions they have to offer. I'm good. I'm well. I'm having fun with these Insta Lives. Hey Viraf, how are you doing? Good. We will get to you in a little bit. Just hang on there, guys. Sorry about this. Okay, sorry about that. There seems to be some technical issues as always with Insta. Anis is having a slight issue seeing me on the live. So I can see a lot of there we are. Okay. So let's say we've got Anis, and we're going to start with him. And yes, I can see a whole bunch of chefs and friends that have entered. Hey, Anis.
Hi, Antoine. Can you hear me?
Good. You can. Yes, I can hear you clearly. So everyone's waiting to hear about your food film recommendation and the food film that you've liked and has perhaps even touched your life. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi. Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is fine, doing well during these difficult times. Thank you, Antoine, for inviting me. I personally think this is a wonderful topic to talk about. I mean to say, we all know that chefs are, highly skilled. They need to have that particular thing in them, the zing thing, to take forward a restaurant, to take forward a brand. Uh, you know, the topic of for today, like movie, that we could relate, as chefs. I think one movie which particularly really moved and inspired me was, you know, by John Favreau. That was like one hell of a movie with a beautiful casting. Even though Dustin Hoffman had a small role, Robert Downey Jr. He's my favorite actor. He had a small role, but then it had a punch in the movie. It spoke about a man, who is skilled, who doesn't want to, do the same thing over and over again. That's how chefs are. Good chefs, they want to innovate. They want to do something new, something different. Here, this guy was, torn apart by a, food critic who
A
did
food
not
critic
like his
like
food
me,
at all.
basically.
Yeah, there are people like you as well, who are good and uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean to say, for me it was like a game changer for me as well, because I could relate my story with him because as I said earlier, chefs, they innovate, they do something new, they do something different. But then here, John, he was not given that kind of freedom by Dustin Hoffman. He wanted to make something. Ruthless. Someone said you're ruthless. I wouldn't say that.
All my friends are here.
So
Moina?
his life in the movie was going through a lot of problems, personal and later professional. Uh, he feels that he is no more a newcomer, the hot thing, hot new thing. He has no money, like most chefs do. uh, he was ignoring his 10-year-old son. His family life was, into doldrums. He was feeling very guilty about it. But he is amusing, hard-working chef. He's got a good sense of humor. Most of us do have, because we work hard. At the end of the day, what we want is, something good to eat and, a sense of
Yeah.
good humor. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
John, he loved what he was doing. He was very positive. He longed for freedom.
Right.
That is
Right.
what most of us do. Things fall apart, and eventually, he listens to his wife and he starts his own food truck, which is coming from a top-notch restaurant
Yeah.
to operating your own food truck is something which people say that, oh, come on, man, you were doing so great and now you're doing this
It's a
own
come down in
little
a manner
thing.
of speaking. Yeah.
Exactly. But then, it relates to me because, even I started my own food truck a couple of 3 years ago
Oh,
by the
really?
brand name Chefs on Board. Yeah. So we
Oh,
had
okay.
three food trucks. One was in RCPL Reliance, one was in Kandivali, one was in Chembur area. So I could relate because you meet so many people on the road, people who love food, people who can't afford to go into like the A-listing restaurants. You can
Right. Right.
experiment. As a chef, you can experiment. You're not bounded by so many things as you are in a restaurant.
Right.
Fine dining and this and that. But
Okay.
yeah, I think that was something great, and I could relate to myself. Uh, I've worked in so many hotels in 5 different continents. I have, come across chefs who have been incredibly, talented. Alan Dukas, he used to be a visiting chef for us while I was working at Six Senses. No tantrums, the way he went
Yeah.
about things, fantastic. My executive chef himself was a great PR guy. Uh, Unfortunately, he wasn't a great
But
chef,
Anis, have
but
you
then
have you ever seen a chef actually, any of the chefs that you work with actually shout at either customers or critics or has this ever been something that you've seen in real lives?
see, it's a thing of the past. Now chefs can't afford to. I mean, to say with
Hmm.
social media coming into effect and, people writing left, right, center, on social media. I mean, to say, even if you have a temper, you need to control it. Uh, I remember when I was working at the Leelas, when I started off, we had this pastry chef called Paff. Even he was a German guy, they are known to be very temperamental. He
Right. Right.
was fantastic guy. I mean, to say, in terms of work, he was brilliant. But then his man managing skills weren't that great because he got a cultural shock when he came to India because we were still, making those Black Forest and pineapple gatos and butterscotch. All of a
Yeah.
sudden
Yeah.
he comes and he makes a, sugar kirsch tart. Like, what was that? We were like, that's the actual
Hmm.
Black Forest. So for him, it was like a huge shift from Germany to India. And, he was not patient enough to, take things how they were. The guests used to call him on buffet and on the cake shop because they knew a expat chef is here because that time it was novelty, an expat chef
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
in, especially patisserie. But then
Right.
this guy, he didn't know how to speak with
Figure.
people. So yeah, I mean to say that's how he couldn't last longer because at the end of
Great.
the day, we are there to do business. We are there to keep people happy. Our last guest walks out, he's happy. That makes our day. That's how chefs are.
Great. Well, thanks, Anis. Thank you so much for sharing your recommendation on your food film and for how it actually connected with you in real life. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get Moina on now, and I'm going to have a couple of words with Moina as well.
Yeah. Thank you so
So
much, man. Thank you so much.
take care, Anis. Okay, Moina, I am just looking for you. There we are. Okay, so that was Anis's recommendation, and now we've got Moina. Hey, Moina, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. All well. So, sorry, just a second. Yeah. Okay. So, floor is yours. Tell us about your movies and what you've liked and what you'd recommend for us.
So, okay, we're jumping straight to it. Thank you for having me. And
Uh,
thanks for like discussing something other than what we're all discussing all the times.
oh, good, good. Yeah, yeah. My pleasure. So happy to do that.
Yeah. So I did watch one of the movies that you recommended, but I'm gonna sneakily recommend two movies. Sorry,
Okay, great.
you knew I was going to cheat, right? I was taking this very seriously. I was like, "Oh, I better
Good,
do my
good.
homework." So,
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
I'm because you're ruthless. No, I'm kidding. You're genuine, so it works. We take your feedback very seriously.
Thank you,
So,
Moina.
I'm recommending a film called Tortilla Soup.
Okay.
Have you seen this one?
No, actually, I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't seen this one.
So, the movie you had recommended was Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
Yeah,
Excellent title, right? Like,
yeah.
I love it. I did watch the film. So,
Okay.
Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is a Chinese film that's set in Taipei, Taiwan, in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
1990s. So it's a very like, one, it's a Chinese Taiwanese film. It's set in the 90s, so it's quite like melancholy and to some extent realistic as well. So
Right.
like nowadays I just don't want to watch anything too realistic and melancholy. So I was like, I need to watch something a little more upbeat. And Tortilla Soup sounded like a great like movie to watch after that, which is actually a copy paste adaptation, American
Okay.
adaptation of
Okay.
Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yeah, it's like, and it was shot in 2000. It was released in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there was a gap. So it also like different period, different kind of style of shooting and everything. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, it's Latin American, and so the entire sort of uh, cinematography to the vibe to the cultural references, everything was different.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, because it's copy paste, it's pretty much the plot is exactly the same. Tortilla Soup is about well, both of them are about like an executive chef who's around in his like semi-retired executive chef in his 60s, and the twist is that he lost his sense of taste and smell after his wife passed away
Mm-hmm.
many years ago, but he still cooks, and it's just like this weird scenario where he has his sous chef taste everything he cooks.
Right.
But what the movie is really about is he has three daughters, so it's a very kind of like a family drama comedy kind of a film. He has
Mm-hmm.
three daughters from like I'm guessing like 18 to like 28 or something,
Right.
and all different characters, right? Like, so typical, slightly stereotyped, the younger ones really rebellious, the older ones really serious, the middle one the golden child. So that scene going on. But again, the main premises of the film is these Sunday dinners that he preps. So he
Mm-hmm.
every Sunday they have a family ritual where they sit down around a table and they
Right.
have to have this massive Sunday dinner feast, and he spends all day cooking, which in itself is completely flawed because I don't know any chef who runs a kitchen going home and spending the whole day cooking. But that's fascinating to see because so the movie actually starts with and both the films actually start like a lot of food films where the chef is cooking and there are these like very kind of sort of uh, zoomed in like
The tight
beautiful
shots and
shots
yeah.
of food and the mise en place being prepped. So that's how both the films start. But it's so interesting to see the contrast of like
Hmm.
a Chinese home kitchen versus like a Mexican American home kitchen. Of course, again, it's their movies, so they're exaggerated, I'm guessing. I wish I had home kitchens like that, man. Like, with insane, like 6-range burners and God knows what. But yeah, so beautiful shots of food throughout the film, because essentially the film is all about how every Sunday dinner, and there's about like 5-6 Sunday dinner scenes all broken up through the film. So every Sunday dinner, like someone or the other, like some daughter or the other makes some like dramatic announcement, and and like 3 women in the house, a single dad. So there's just like a lot of like chaos going on with the
Yeah, yeah.
food and everything. So they're just fun watches. Like if you're in an artsy mood, I'd say watch them back to back.
Okay.
First, the Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, and then Tortilla Soup. If you just don't want to watch anything heavy, just watch Tortilla Soup. And if you're
Okay.
in a melancholy mode, then Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is the way to go.
Okay. Well, I mean, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is one of my favorite films. I haven't seen Tortilla Soup, but it sounds like a really, really fun version of the. It's Taiwanese, I think. It's Taiwanese or Hong Kong. I'm not sure which
Taiwan.
exact.
It's set in
It's Taiwan.
Taiwan. It's yeah, I guess it's Taiwanese then.
Yeah, yeah.
They speak Mandarin.
Okay, yeah. I just remember the whole opening shots, and I think at some point he also falls in love with his neighbor who can't cook, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly. Is that part
Yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
in
Yeah,
Tortilla Soup?
it's copy paste, man, except for the cultural references, of course. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's like the plot where, there's like the older daughter's best friend
Hmm.
who's like a terrible cook and has a daughter she drops to school every day. And there's like these shots of the poor kids, like horrible tiffin. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like that's like, kind of like me because my mom was a terrible cook. So, but yeah, how he like swaps, he cooks for the kid and how they fall in love. And so there's like plot twist going on there.
Oh, great, great. Great, Moina. Thank you so much. Any other films that you want to talk about, or you want to share, or this was it?
Bottle shock.
But yeah, no, Body Shock is a wine film, and we've actually did
Yeah, I'm not
I
allowed
did.
to talk about a non-food film, so next time.
Yeah, next time, next time. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing these up. It's a film that I have not watched, so definitely it's a recommendation that I am going to take up.
Awesome.
And thanks so much. And I am going to
Thank you.
take you off and bring Pallavi on now.
Thanks.
And bye. See you, Mona. Okay, and before we do that, we've got a recommendation for Angamali Diaries from Lobocop. I have not seen this movie, so that's another recommendation that I am going to keep in mind for my next list of movies. So now, let's see, we've got Pallavi. Hey, Pallavi.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm very well. Hang on, let me adjust my screen so that you're not just looking at my eyebrows. Hang on. Hi.
Great. Okay. I think you may want to tilt it a little bit upward.
Hang on. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So I think you've seen the first two chefs as well now.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for your recommendations. What
So
are your
I'm
films?
going to take my cue from Moina and cheat a little bit and talk
Okay.
about two different types of film. So starkly opposite kinds of film. So from my childhood, I remember a lot of Disney movies that I watched growing up, and mostly it was for the songs. But I remember very clearly from Beauty and the Beast, and I'm sure everybody's seen some version of Beauty and the Beast. And
Yeah.
the song I'm referring to is when Belle, the lead character, I mean, I don't need to go into the plot because everybody knows Beauty and the Beast. But anyway, so she wanders into the kitchen really hungry, and the castle staff of inanimate objects, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts, they tell her to sit down and they want to provide a feast for her. And it's called Be Our Guest. And I think that was the first time that I heard so many things to do with food in a song, and I'm going to read out a couple of lines so you
Great.
understand what I mean. It's actually I can't sing. I would have sung it for you if I could, but I can't sing.
You want to try? Give it a shot. What the hell?
Okay, I'm going to read it out. Try my best. It says, "Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, Cherie, and we'll provide the rest. Soup du jour, hot hors d'oeuvres, why we only live to serve. Try the grey stuff, it's delicious. Don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all, Miss This is France. And a dinner here is never second best. Go on, unfold your menu, take a glance, and then you'd be our guest. Beef ragout, cheese soufflé, pie and pudding en flambé. We prepare and serve with flair a culinary cabaret." So I mean, and it goes on, and they go through the whole menu, and as they sing, all these dishes come onto the table, sort of self-animated. So I think that's one of my. It's not a food movie, so I'm cheating, but it is a very specific food scene that is sort of etched in my memory from when I was a child. So that's definitely at the top of the list. And the other one is not a movie, but it's a TV show. So again, cheating. But and completely opposite to the sort of family-friendly movie Beauty and the Beast. It's Hannibal, and I'm talking about even the movie as well as the TV show. More so the TV show because it's. I mean, I was riveted from the first episode of the show, and each season of the show is named each episode is named after a course, and each season is a different type of course from a different type of cuisine. So the first season is all the French courses, and the second one's all the Italian, and they go to the Japanese. So season one, episode one is aperitif, where Hannibal cooks his what is supposed to be veal, but clearly it isn't. But the whole show is based around food. I think the driving force of the plot is food. Hannibal's motives are decided by food, and he's Janice Poon, who's this food stylist in the show. She's done such a great job, and there's even a book that is based on the whole TV show and all the recipes that he cooks. Obviously, she doesn't recommend human meat, but obviously she recommends all the actual meat that is supposed to be in the show. Before this show came out, which is quite recent, when Anthony Hopkins was Hannibal Lecter, he in the last part of the trilogy in The Red Dragon, he's with Edward Norton. He figures out that this killer that they're trying to find is eating his victims, and Hannibal Lecter sort of lets Edward Norton think that he believes him, and he walks out of his library, and Edward Norton sort of puts the pieces together and realizes that obviously he's standing in the murderer's library. And then Hannibal Lecter turns around and sort of skewers his heart, and he says, I admire your courage, I think I'll eat your heart. And I found, actually, we did a supper club late last year, and we were making a pig's heart salad, and I quite randomly, we had started cleaning the hearts to cut them, to sear them, and it was lying sort of open on the chopping board, and I found myself repeating those lines in my head. So for a minute I caught myself kind of off guard. I was like, where am I going with this? So for a minute I thought, I felt like Hannibal, and I was really excited by the fact that there was this big blood red pig's heart on my chopping board, and I did proceed to stick my knife in it. So, and I enjoyed that. So I feel like with that version of Hannibal, and now what Janice Poon did with all the food styling, I think it really is underrated as a food-based show. I think more so than a crime-based show.
Yeah.
So those are
I see it quite often on food lists, on food recommendation. Food movies or food TV series watch. Hannibal really is up there just for the food styling and for the way the food is done.
Definitely not the faint-hearted or the vegan, but definitely if you like offals and you enjoy watching those tight shots of Mads Mikkelsen cooking, and the way he smells his ingredients, and the way he drinks his wine, and there's some amazing shots of him cutting the meat, and it's almost sexual, I think, the way he rubs the meat, and it sort of insinuates so many things from murder
Things.
to a great meal to sex. Like it's also great that I feel like it's a
Yeah.
great depiction of what food does to you. And he's also thinking about the person he's murdered simultaneously while touching that
Right.
fish. So I think it's pretty brilliant.
Great, Moina.
Replacement by Hannibal Lecter.
But thank you so much. I'm sure everyone is going to look at watch the series again and definitely think about all the gruesome things that you have. Yeah, but thank you so much for your recommendations. I'm going to definitely check on that Beauty and the Beast song. I
Yes,
don't
you
remember
must.
that very well, but I
You
will
must.
definitely listen into it.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Pallavi. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, so just quickly, I think Ruth put up something about, let me just go through that. Yeah, Salt and Pepper, which is a Malayalam film. And I think there's also a recipe for that for Jones Rainbow Cake, which is supposed to be a story, a love story kind of thing. And interestingly, I have not found any references to Jones Rainbow Cake outside of this film. Everyone says that, Rainbow Cake and love and all thing, but the Rainbow Cake and Jones Rainbow Cake is just with salt and pepper. And I'm just going to bring Viraf in now. Viraf. There we go. Yeah, and I think Saina talked about. Hey, Viraf. Oh my gosh,
Hey,
we've
hello.
got two participants for the show. Okay.
She wants to be with me right now. She refuses to go to anyone else. So yeah, she's
Oh,
gonna be part of
wonderful.
this.
Oh,
Say
excellent,
hi.
excellent. Hello.
I don't think she can hear you. Sorry, I've got the earphones
Oh,
on.
oh,
There you go. Yes. Okay. Hey,
okay,
Antoine, how are you doing?
okay. Good, good. How have you been, Viraf?
Good, good. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so tell us, what are the movies that you would recommend we watch?
Yeah. So I actually was wanting to talk about this movie called Burn. Go flowers. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not so much about the plot and stuff like that. I mean, it's a common about a chef who's fallen from glory and he wants to get back on his feet and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
but what's really really interesting is the way that whole movie was researched and the way it's been shot. And so it's basically this guy who was working in a Michelin star restaurant, gets 2 Michelin stars in Paris, and then after that he gets into the typical things that chefs are accused of. He gets into alcohol abuse and drug abuse and things like that, because I mean so people know that it's a hard tough life
Yeah.
behind the ranges and in those high pressure kitchens trying to earn those Michelin stars. And
Yeah, yeah.
basically he goes down that rabbit hole and goes down too far, and now he wants to come back and get his he wants to get his third star, and he's kind of rallying this whole team who have previously worked with him or have been part of the restaurants that he's worked with. And I see a lot of me in that, sparing the alcohol and drug abuse, but I see a lot of me trying to rally my troops together and get the boys back, because you spend so much time and energy you're training these guys and getting them to work how you'd like, and then it's just very simple, and you say like this is what I'm looking at, and they already know what you're talking about. And then so then it goes into how he manages to get his place as chef in a restaurant, which he kind of takes over almost by force. And I would love to do something like that one day. Uh, and then he gets betrayed also by one of his
Yeah.
staff members who's been with him Michelle, who's been with him for like very long time. So it's
Yeah,
all
that
those
was a
ups
really
and downs.
scary part in the film, actually, if I remember, where,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
And I totally see that as, one disgruntled fucker just going like, oh shit, today I'm going to screw this guy over and walk out, throw my apron in. And yeah, it actually comes as a surprise in the movie. You don't expect it, and then it suddenly hits you, and you go like, yeah, that's possible too. And so yeah, that happens. And then how he finally, manages to come back, and of course he's got all these other issues going on, and he's got debt, and it's just so typically, the life of a guy who's trying to hustle his way to his third Michelin star. Again, not so much for the plot, but just the way the movie is researched out. It's got so much detail, that attention to detail with every aspect
Yeah.
from, those kitchens and
Yeah.
the typical following of, the life of this guy. Yeah, so
The other part that I liked in the film was also with this competitor, with I think who was his colleague earlier and is now is a competing, and when he has this kind of blow up at his own restaurant, and he destroys everything in the restaurant, and his investor comes in and tells him stop acting like a schoolboy. I mean, I thought that seemed really very.
And there is of course a lot of there's a lot of parts have been dramatized for like Hollywood, but in the sense that in that sense basically where today you don't see chefs doing that. You don't see chefs hassling each other, walking into each other's kitchens and abusing abusing them. In fact, we're actually a close-knit community, and we're all kind of friends, and we're all in this together kind of thing. Everyone's doing their own thing, but we're all in support of each other nowadays, rather than the other way where what's depicted in the movie. So I at least that's the way it is for me and the people I know. So I haven't yet walked into anyone's restaurant and yelled at them.
Yeah, but actually that's something I was wondering about India and how different it is. But at least that sense of competitiveness and that sense of pressure. I mean, I don't think there's anything the equivalent of, say, a New York Times review or a Michelin star review in India. So I don't know whether chefs feel that kind of pressure as they do maybe in London or Paris or New York, and maybe that's towards that paradigm.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think you have a point there for sure. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and one of the things I did like about the movie was how it really focused more on the chef and the internal processes and the challenges of the chef, rather than just all the foods. I think there's just one scene where he cooks in his sous chef's house, where I think he's kicked out and he has no place, so he cooks for his sous chef and his girlfriend.
Yes, He's got no home at that time, and he's basically bumming a bedroom in his sous chef's house. I mean, it's kind of I kind of relate to those kind of things. I wouldn't say it happened exactly the same way in my life or something, but there have been ups and downs in every chef's life, and it just some parts just hit close.
Great. Viraf, thank you so much. That was good fun, and thank you for kind of talking about a film that not too many people I think have really heard about. Though Bradley Cooper has done a fabulous job with it, and it's not one of his most famous films, but I think it's a really good one.
Well made movie, and he's acted beautifully in the.
He's acted beautifully. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to take you off.
Yeah. Right.
My pleasure. Right. Take care.
See you. Bye.
Bye. So that was it. Just a couple of other films. Yes, Saina, even I was surprised that no one spoke about Jiro Dreams, but I think most of them spoke largely about feature films and fiction films. But that's another great film to watch. So one of my favorite films actually is The Big Night, and it's a really old film. I think it was somewhere in the 90s. I cannot for the life of me remember who the actors are, but I know one of them went on to act as Monk in the TV series. And Irfan, if you want to jump in and tell us your favorite movie, that'll be great. I can bring you on as well. We've got a little bit of time if you're up for it. And but anyway, in the meantime, yeah. So Big Night. It's about two brothers, two Italian brothers who come to, I think it's New York, somewhere in the maybe 50s, and they set up their own Italian restaurant. And Tony Shalhoub is monk, right? Tony Shalhoub is one of the brothers. He's the chef, actually. He is like most chefs. Irfan, okay, I'll add you on then. We've got a surprise guest in Irfan. Okay. Hey, Irfan. Good to see you.
Hey, how are you?
All good. So we've got a surprise guest. Well, great. So you got a movie for us?
So you know what? I've been listening to this whole session. I had a very patchy sort of signal, so I wasn't able to hear everything. So I don't really have a movie per se, but you know, everything that you guys have mentioned for me, I'm definitely gonna watch.
Okay.
You know, for
Okay,
sure. So
great.
no, I can't think of anything at this point other than everything else that everybody else mentioned. The whole conversation about what's that dude's name who eats all the offals?
Hannibal.
Oh,
Hannibal.
Hannibal. Yeah, that was very interesting. Very, very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
But no, nothing really at this point, Antoine. But thank you for having
Okay.
me on. And
Oh,
you need
not
to
at all.
send me a whole list of movies that I need to now watch.
I will, most definitely. Well, thanks, Irfan, for joining. And I am just
No, thank you
going
for
back
having
because I
me.
think, not at all. Take care.
Okay, bye. Bye. See you.
Bye. So yeah, that was Stanley Tucci, and Stanley Tucci is the manager and front person, and Tony Shalhoub is the chef. And they run this really traditional Italian restaurant, which is doing really badly, really badly. And across the road is another Italian restaurant, which is doing American Italian, and it's doing really fabulously well. And there's this one scene that embodies the whole, the whole problem with that restaurant. And there's a woman who comes into the restaurant, and she asks for spaghetti and meatballs. And obviously, it's not an Italian dish, so Tony Shalhoub refuses to put it on the menu or to cook it. And Stanley Tucci goes in and says, like, listen, I've got a guest here, and there's someone ordering. Will you please put something out so that we can make some money? And Tony Shalhoub kind of peers out of the kitchen, stares at her, and looks back at Stanley Tucci and says, no, she's a Philistine. I'm not going to cook for her. And for me, that was really the best moment in the whole movie. So, and I've used that movie very often in talking about authenticity, which is one of my favorite, my pet peeves. But, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up now. We've had a really great session with all the four chefs plus Irfan. Thank you all for staying on and for listening in. If you have other recommendations, I really suggest that you add on to the comments once the video goes live. And I will see you guys soon. So in the meantime, stay safe and stay well. Take care.